Are we begin? Good afternoon, Professor Dasharat N, Professor Matthias, Professor Openka, and Professor M.S. Benjamin, and Ms. Sarah McBean. Dear esteemed participants and paper presenters, I am deeply honored to be part of this program hosted by the Department of Studies in Law, University of Mysore, for the international webinar on the role of IPR in poverty alleviation. As we are in the journey of the development and innovation, it becomes increasingly clear that IPR is not just a legal protection for the copyright and the innovation for the right of creators and inventors. IPR is a powerful and legal strategies for addressing global challenges, that is including poverty alleviation and sustainable development goal. According to World Bank, 700 million people are living in poverty, that majorities are women, and particularly these are located in South Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa, and so on. In the line of that, the Sustainable Development Goal 2030 was developed by the United Nations in 2015 with the 17 ambitious goal to start. The first one was that to end poverty. Poverty stands as a foundational for the all of these 17 goals. Now, to say so that poverty is not about that having or not having a basic needs. It is beyond that. Is again, the World Bank defined the poverty as not, that poverty is not having just not about the food or finance, but poverty is beyond that. Poverty is about hunger, poverty, lack of shelter, poverty that being sick and not able to see a doctor. Poverty is not having access to school and knowledge and how to read. Poverty is not having a job and fear of the future, living, and poverty. Even in today's scenario, since global warming is concerned, it is about water scarcity. We could say that water poverty. More people want to escape this poverty. Now, this call action was taken by the United Nations to mitigate poverty. That the SDG and poverty, these are interconnected. So if you are living in poverty, then you are living in hunger. If you are living in hunger, then you don't have access to the healthcare sector and the education. So these are the causes where we use the intellectual property to mitigate them. How to use this, that the Department of Studies in Law, University of Mysore, always stands as a forefront to addressing the critical societal issues by hosting such international webinar, such as what we have today, provided a platform for the students and to learn from our esteemed dignitaries to give a comprehensive discussion, and particularly we have a keynote speaker, Professor Openka, will be highlighting more in this topic. In this context, and we see India stands as the fast-growing economy, but still we must recognize that according to the United Nations, which has estimated in 2015, still there's no such particular report to say that 27% of the Indian populations are also living in the poverty line, where millions are suffering from hunger and lack of access to clean water and adequate healthcare and poor housing condition and so on. So every country trying to mitigate and escape from this, to see that IPR is not just protecting, as I have mentioned, protecting the right of innovators, but it addresses the basic needs, such as providing mechanism by developing innovative irrigation system for the farming and agriculture. And we have some papers which have highlighted about the seeds and the financial inclusion for the poverty mitigation and alleviation. So creation of affordable healthcare sector and recognizes and low and affordable treatments. With the protection of IPR, which offers and innovation and creativity, which attracts both the domestic and the international investment and creativity. For that to go, IPR has been the core center of the technological transfers, which provide solution and uplift millions of the people. So to be very precise in the topic, IPR should not be just only as an IP product, but it should have a means to protect, and the core objective should be human development to help the society. To say so, IPR is not just about the patent and copyright, in the conventional sense, but it is about to empowering ideas and empower the technological innovations and make that intangible differences in the life of those people who are living in impoverished and marginalized area. Considering how IPR drives innovation and creating more opportunities and affordable healthcare sectors and agriculture and clean waters. For that to continue without further ado, I will request my colleague, Ms. Sarah, to welcome the esteemed dignitaries and introduce the guest, and it will be followed by our esteemed guest to highlight.
A pleasant afternoon to all of you joining us from different corners of the world. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to this international webinar on the role of intellectual property in poverty alleviation. It is my absolute pleasure to extend a warm welcome to all the distinguished guests, Professor Dr. N. Dashrath, Professor of Law and Dean, Faculty of Law, Bangalore University, Dr. Matthias N. Nuki, Professor of Law, Head of the Department of Law, Mushi Cooperative University, Tanzania, and Dr. Upankar Chutia, Associate Professor, Alliance School of Law, and Professor Dr. M.S. Benjamin, Chairman, Dean, Faculty of Law, Professor of Law, Department of Studies in Law, University of Mysore. Esteemed speakers, scholars, researchers, and participants joining us for this international webinar. Today, we gather in a virtual space to explore how intellectual property can be a powerful tool in fostering innovation, economic empowerment, and sustainable development, especially in marginalized communities. As the global economy continues to evolve, the protection and utilization of creative ideas, inventions, and traditional knowledge have never been more crucial in addressing poverty and promoting equitable growth. This webinar aims to not only enhance our understanding of the role of intellectual property in development, but also to inspire actionable solutions that can make a tangible impact on the lives of millions worldwide. At this point, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to our keynote speakers, panelists, and presenters who have graciously agreed to share their expertise with us. Your contributions will undoubtedly enrich our understanding and spark insightful discussions on how intellectual property in poverty alleviation can foster a fair and inclusive global intellectual property landscape. A special thank you to the organizing committee and academic partners who have worked tirelessly to make this event a reality. Without your dedication and efforts, this platform for knowledge exchange and collaboration would not have been possible. As we embark on this enlightening journey of discussion and discovery, I encourage all participants to actively engage, ask questions, and share perspectives. Let us use this opportunity to learn, collaborate, and contribute to a future where intellectual property serves as a catalyst for sustainable and inclusive development. With that, I once again extend a warm welcome to all of you and officially declare this international webinar on the role of intellectual property in poverty alleviation open. Thank you and wishing you all a productive and insightful session ahead.
Now, I would like to request Professor Dashrath to give his remark on
Respected President of today's international seminar on the role of intellectual property and relation to empowerment of the poverty. Respected Professor Matthias, respected Professor Upankar, academic partners and organizers who have enabled this event to happen, and myself is very deeply delighted and honored to be the part of this program. A very beautiful topic, in the area of intellectual property for the reason very rarely people in the academia think of linking the intellectual property to that of the empowerment of the poor. So therefore, I once again congratulate the organizers and the president of today's program, Professor Benjamin, the dean and the chairman, faculty of law, University of Mysore, for giving me an opportunity to be the chief guest of today's wonderful program. To begin with, my important question is, who bothers the poor in the entire globe? Who has more concern to the poor, and how the countries in the world and in India in particular have been addressing the issue of poverty. Since from my childhood, if I remember, from 9th standard, I have been hearing a narrative or a slogan, Garibi Hatao in India. And it even continues today in a little changed form of a slogan, wherein in our own country, one may feel how 81 crores of people depend upon the free ration supplied by the union government through its scheme. Out of around 140 millions of people. The student to introduce this conference made a point that India is a fast-growing economy. To put it in the other sense, the Indian growth of the economy is accelerating. But then, if I am correct, we cannot link the economic growth to that of the empowerment of the poor for many reasons, namely the accelerating growth, if at all it exhibits unemployment, then the poverty, then that accelerating growth cannot be called as a very positive directed economic growth, be it in India or in any other country. And secondly, you see the budget allocation. Budget after budget, the budgetary allocations for the empowerment of the people, especially through the means of education and health, has not been so much increasing as expected by the economics and the intellectuals, including the legal luminaries. So also the agricultural growth is also not so satisfactory. But then let us be positive looking, because I'm an optimistic, and optimistic finds number of opportunities in midst of many number of difficulties, and a pessimistic finds number of difficulties in midst of many number of opportunities. So let us hope there is a link very much established between economic growth, development, and empowerment of the poor in our great country, India. When I looked into some of the sites of the government of Karnataka to see who is the poor in the state of Karnataka for the purpose of benefits, for empowering them, then I found a limit of 1 lakh rupees, income limit of 1 lakh rupees for the minorities, that is Buddhists, Jains, Christians, Parsis, the Muslims. Whereas for the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe, the income limit has been 2 lakhs or 2.5 lakhs or so. For the person with disabilities, the income limit is rupees 8 lakhs for the purpose of ensuring the benefits for them in order to empower them. So therefore, what I feel is that the question of addressing the poverty is a multi-dimensional approach, and one such approach is surely, but not so definitely, is through the means of the protection of the intellectual property rights. I don't want to go into the legal provisions of the various intellectual properties that are recognized by statutes in our own country. But then when I look at the statistics as to the granting and to that of the registration of the intellectual properties in United States, China, and America, United States, China, and India, I could find there is a large difference wherein China has more number of patents, copyrights when compared to United States, and India is lesser than when compared to these two developed countries. Then a very interesting question arises: how to make the developing countries more inclusive for the purpose of sharing the technology, the benefits accruing out of the different intellectual properties It's a very major area for research and for the purpose of this event deliberation. Constitution of our country, though has conferred in the first list through entry 47, if I'm right, for the purpose of making laws for the protection of intellectual property rights. The earliest legislation is the protection of the Copyrights Act 1957, followed by the Latent Act in 1978, the trademarks and the geographical indications, if I'm right, so will stand corrected if the years are around 1999, and the Layout Designs Act, where we can find that India has a very good legislative framework for the protection of the copyrights. But then how this legislative framework has enabled for the purpose of inclusion is my question. The increasing demand for the research in the area of biotechnology is to be addressed very effectively in our country. If I am right, nearly 75 to 80% of the technology is present in United States, Japan, and Germany. And in our own country, the biotechnology courses are being now prescribed in greater number of our universities for the purpose of the studies. So there is a great need for increasing the attention upon the aspect of biotechnology, because its impact is upon the food, medicines, pharmaceutical, and other areas. Then my next question would be how these intellectual property would be made more accessible and more affordable, especially in the area of agriculture and health, which I am very much concerned. For the obvious reason that even today, many of our rural areas depend upon agriculture. But then, what do the farmers want? What are the rights of the farmers? What rights should be protected in regard to the farmers? I have been teaching agricultural labor law from past 10 years, from past 7 to 8 years in my University Law College and Department of Studies in Law. But then, friends, I could not get a convincing answer for the meaning and definition of farmer. Even the question was raised in the parliament very recently to the concerned minister to answer who is a farmer, for the obvious reason is that we have a scheme known as the Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Yojana, wherein 6,000 rupees per year is directly deposited into the accounts of around 8 crores, sometimes they say 10 crores, sometimes they say 11 crores of farmers. So this conceptual clarity about the farmers ought to be or is to be clarified legally, economically, so that the real benefits will go to the deserving farmers. Then the farmers' rights are protected under a very interesting legislation, that is the Protection of the Plant Varieties Act, that is the legislation which will protect the rights of the breeders. But then, up to what extent our farmers' products, their seeds, their plants are protected is a very, very difficult question to answer and introspect. For the reason that most of our farmers are not aware of their rights, and they are not so much aware about the existing legal framework for them. So as a result, we can see how the farmers sometimes, not always, stand in queues for getting the seeds supplied through the government. So therefore, to what extent this Plant Varieties Protection Act is a beneficial IPR legislation for the farmers need to be introspected and examined. Friends, health is a very important component without which nothing can happen effectively in one's life, and the health of the nation is still more important for its stability, for its economic progress, and for its sustainable development. Then, what type of attention we are giving towards the health, and how the intellectual property rights, especially the patenting of medicines, which are essential medicines, essential for the empowerment of the poor. It's a very interesting area, both for research and for the academia to discuss. Today I read in the newspapers that the and the same were administered to the poor women. Unfortunately, those women to whom the drugs were administered, medicines were administered, lost their lives who had been admitted for delivery in the hospitals of Bellary. The health minister has written a letter to the Union Health Minister to see that these types of drugs are not locally supplied any more in future. So therefore, it's a great challenge that to see how these medicines, which are very essential for the poor people, help them to afford otherwise and to have access for them in their lives so that they can be beneficial. Of course, we have very good Pradhan Mantri Arogya Yojana, and our Karnataka state also has got Karnataka state Arogya Yojana. But then we have some shops which have been established by the union government where we can get medicines for lesser rates. But then please check those medicines which are sold there. Are they really beneficial for the poorer people? And whether those medicines are prescribed by the doctors in different hospitals, except government hospitals. Private hospitals very rarely refer for the patients to purchase those medicines which are sold in subsidized rates. The shops established by the union government. Therefore, how the intellectual property, especially through the patenting of medicines, the pharmaceuticals, have enabled the empowerment of the poor is a very interesting area for introspection and for research. You can find in today's newspapers that developed country like the United States of America is cutting amounts towards diversity, equity, and inclusion of the persons into the mainstream of society. And the federal court, the federal judge has stayed the order of the government cutting funds towards diversity, equity, and inclusion. If such a developed countries' fate is towards the empowerment of the less privileged, then imagine the fate of the developing countries and that of the underdeveloping countries. So therefore, I urge this international seminar to focus more upon the inclusion, the affordability and the accessibility of the various intellectual property rights down to the masses. Because we give, because the research and development, it's not so impressive in our country, wherein which lot of attention has to be given, lot of support has to be given for the innovation, research and development of our intellectual property, wherein both the academia and the government can do better for enhancing the innovation and the research and development. Then the next very important concern to me is that we had experienced a very, very bad situation wherein the pandemic, corona, which shook the economies of many countries. But then our country has successfully faced this situation. And the role of the World Health Organization, to a larger extent, has been successful. But then you can see how the developed country, the United States of America, has decided to stay away from the WHO. Earlier, Indonesia also had some grievance with WHO, and we are now seeing the United States getting away from WHO, which is a very major sponsor to the WHO. And you know, the World Health Organization, established in 1948, has been doing something better internationally to see that the developing countries and the underdeveloped countries are protected in the different areas of the empowerment for the poor in the world. But then, let us be optimistic. The WHO will not go behind in continuing its effort. Friends, there are many regulatory arrangements or the which have been established under the and regulating of intellectual property rights. The Nagoya Protocol attached to the Convention on the Protection of Biodiversity, the WTO, TRIPS, WIPO are internationally doing well. And our country regulatory machinery is also doing well, but then the difficulties are in the area of enforcement, sometimes complex procedures, wherein the granting and registering of intellectual properties will be a little bit difficult for the persons who have done some sort of innovation, invention, and research in the area of intellectual properties. So the challenging areas are these. There has to be a wide awareness about the legal framework and the ways in which the intellectual properties are protected, and this awareness could be generated by the law schools through their legal awareness and legal literacy camps, especially how to protect the traditional knowledge and generic resources available locally in our country, more particularly in our rural areas. And there is a very interesting legislation for the protection of the Forest Rights Act of tribals. But then that legislation, if it is enforced effectively, then bulk of the genetic resources will be surely be protected. There is a debate whether the tribals should be brought out into the mainstream of society, or they should be allowed to remain in the forest. You know, there are dangerous fires catch in summer. What are the reasons for this? The reasons is that bulk of the people who reside in the forest are allowed to join into the mainstream, and there is no information about the catching of turned into ashes. What is the remedy for this? They have been put up some towers which will give an alarming alarm that there is likely to spread fire in the forest, but those towers are not put everywhere in different parts of this world. So my humble suggestions are that we have to create abundant awareness about the benefits of the intellectual property rights. Secondly, the developed countries should be very fair enough, generous enough to transfer the technology to the developing countries so that they too prosper in the area of intellectual property rights. And thirdly, there should be very strict vigilance about the affordability and accessibility of the medicines, the pharmaceuticals, and other traditional and generic resources for the people, especially in the local areas. And fourthly, there has to be more and more research, innovation in the area of intellectual property in our country. I'm extremely thankful to the president of today's international event, Professor Benjamin, Department of Studies, University of Mysore, for giving me the opportunity to speak few words as chief guest of today's program. I thank my student Sarah and others who have helped this event to happen successfully. Namaskar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your insightful words. Now, to speak a few words about Professor Dr. N. Dashrath, sir. Sir completed his PhD from the prestigious Indian Law Institute, New Delhi, becoming the first visually challenged person in India to receive a PhD in law. He also presented research papers at national and international seminars, including in Sri Lanka and Thailand. He is also the author of 3 significant books, namely Vision for Social Justice, Reasonable Accommodation at Workplace for Persons with Disability, and Untouchability and the Law. Breaking barriers, he became the first visually challenged person in South India to serve as the chairperson of University Law College and Department of Studies in Law at Bangalore University. Furthermore, he holds the distinction of being the first visually challenged person in India to assume the position of Dean Faculty of Law. He also received an Award of Dignity of Community Award by the National Federation for the Blind Karnataka branch on January 4th, 2021. It is a great pleasure and thank you, sir, and thank you so much, sir. Now, to introduce Dr. Matthias S. N. Nuki. It is an honor to introduce Dr. N. Nuki, a distinguished academic, legal practitioner, and consultant whose expertise spans cooperative law, policy, and human rights. Currently, a senior academic in the Department of Law at Mushi Cooperative University, Dr. N. Nuki brings over a decade of experience in teaching, research, consultancy, and legal practice since 2010. His scholarly contributions are equally commendable, with numerous publications focusing on cooperative policy, legislation, and workers' human rights. As a trainer, he has imparted knowledge on critical policy and legislative issues concerning cooperative law, labor conditions, and human rights. Administratively, he has held pivotal roles, including head of the Department of Law at the Mushi Cooperative University, Secretary at the Kilimanjaro Region Advocates Committee. With such an extensive background in academia, legal practice, and consultancy, Dr. N. Nuki is undoubtedly a leader in shaping legal education, policy development, and institutional governance. It is truly an honor to have him with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, join in welcoming Dr. S. Nuki.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sarah. I hope that is your name for quite an introduction. Please confirm if you hear me.
Yes, you please proceed.
Okay, thank you very much. Respected Professor Dr. M. Suresh Benjamin, Professor Dr. Dasharat, Dr. Upanka Chutia. I also see on the list the Secretariat led by Mr. Sayed Kudrat Hashimi. Greetings from the United Republic of Tanzania in the eastern part of Africa. Right now it is 12:30. It is noon time. I know you are ahead by 2.5 hours. So it is a good afternoon from East Africa. It is quite a pleasure for me to be part of this program. The program very well planned and executed by the Department of Studies in Law, University of Mysore. It is quite an honor to be part of the guests of honor for this particular program and to speak a little bit on intellectual property and poverty. Ms. Sarah made an introduction which is mostly focused on what I've written on my curriculum vitae, but I normally prefer to add a little bit and to create a nexus, a connection between my speech and the work that I'm doing or the work that I've done. And in connection with this particular webinar, Let me add by just saying a few words. One, I've been researching intellectual properties since 2015, that I recall. I studied it as a course then, but my research officially started in 2015. I was actually engaged in an international course on intellectual property, and we had a focus on IPR, but this time it was in the context of the relevancy to small and micro medium enterprises. That is what we did. So we did a research project then, and since then I've been part of studies that are involving IPR, and I've also been teaching this course for the last maybe 7 or 8 years, not at the institution that I'm currently engaged with, but as a part-time lecturer in one or two of the institutions that are around where I am. So I'm comfortable that I can say or I can share some of the insights regarding intellectual property rights and poverty. Number two, I've also been a researcher, and this is the latest development. After I left India, I did my research in India, my PhD research at the University of Mysore. So I was a regular, a full-time researcher at the Menasa Gangotri campus. So immediately after I left India, I found that I was pertinently, and I was this time introduced to the area of sustainable development goals. And I was particularly interested with studies that are involving the connection between law and sustainable development. So we linked sustainable development cooperatives. That is what we've been doing since then. But I was also able to try to create the nexus between intellectual property rights and the sustainable development goal as part of my work, as part of my research. So that is the second scenario that adds to the CV, my CV, and my connection between my connection with intellectual property rights and poverty. Now, I've had the privilege of listening to the chief guest's keynote address, and Professor Dasharat was raising very important questions, and these are the same questions that I thought of initially. So it is some kind of the preempting of another speaker. Inclusivity, IPR, the question of inclusivity in terms of how far are we willing to go in terms of ensuring that there is inclusivity in IPR, that the people who are poor are now included in these particular innovations and inventions. He raised also concerns concerning accessibility as well as affordability. Yes, we have these inventions, we have these innovations, we have the technologies in the health sector, in the agriculture sector, but are they accessible to the majority poor? Are they affordable by the majority poor? What is wrong then, and what are we supposed to do? From here, it is where my discussion is taking off. I understand, and I do not want to take you back to the question as to what poverty is and what intellectual property rights encompasses. That I don't want to go back there, because I believe most of us here are very well conversant. We are all acquainted with the knowledge on these two. Poverty, it's a song that we've been singing for a very long time. Intellectual property right, it is a cause that is almost compulsory everywhere. For every lawyer, for every legal student, you find that you have to go through intellectual property rights. And so we have so many things there that we've grasped. Now, my very foremost remark that I intended to make was to remind each and every one of us that poverty everywhere, poverty anywhere, in many literature that I have read so far. And it makes sense. If there is anyone poor, any member of the human family, anywhere in a part of the globe, because poverty is a global issue. It is not something that is only for Indians, only for Tanzanians. Oh, no. It is something that is facing mankind. And we might be geographically positioned in different places, but we are all aiming at alleviating this particular problem that has lasted for a very long time. So if it is any member of a human family who is having this particular problem, then it means it is a threat everywhere in the world. Diseases, hunger and famine, which Professor has addressed, Professor Dasharat, the issues of ignorance, etc., etc. They are part of the factors that tell you that, yes, we have a problem somewhere. We have a problem that needs to be addressed if mankind is to progress anyhow. You find we have the majority poor people who are also in the rural areas, agriculture being dominant. It is the leading economic activity. That is no doubt. In most countries, you will find that agriculture is leading in terms of as an employer, because most of the people are farmers. The statistics will vary from one country to the other, but it will be between 75% up to 85%, and the rest will be from the other sectors. That is what you will see. You have the majority also who are poor and who are also working or constituting the world most labor force in dangerous occupations, in construction, in the industry, manufacturing, in mining. You have so many people who are providing their labor, but are the dominant, the most dominant, the predominant poor. So you see poverty hitting most people, and it is like it is there to stay. No one is taking the serious measures. No one is considering overhauling the entire system so that we see, at least we have addressed to a certain extent the level of the gap that exists between the rich and the poor. But today, this is not something that we are addressing. Today, we are addressing intellectual property rights and poverty. So the question would be, are the intellectual property rights a name to poverty alleviation? If not a name at all, can IPR contribute to poverty alleviation? And if they can do so, what then is supposed to be done? For me, intellectual property rights, they keep emerging. They've been there since then. But poverty is also there alongside the way. So it means we've failed to exploit on the intellectual property rights in alleviating these particular problems relating to property. That is the first picture that you are getting, okay? Yes, we have IPR. We have patent which would ensure that we have good health. We have patent which will ensure that we have good harvest as farmers. We have patent which will ensure that mankind enjoys their life, and even addressing the specific problems that are related to poverty alleviation. But what do we see today? A few important facts. I tried to list them down. One, you see in most hospitals today, patients are dying because of a failure to purchase medicine or to purchase certain or to pay for certain technologies. No one cares. It's either you pay or you die. So you see, we have intellectual property right on one hand, and we have on the other hand a poor person who is forced, because of the protections that exist over these inventions and innovation. This particular person is forced or is cornered to either pay. He has only one choice. He has two choices. You pay, the failure of which you go to the second choice. You expire. So we've seen patients who are dying, not because there are no medicines, not because there are no technologies to perform these particular procedures, but because these people cannot afford those technologies. I lived in Mysore, and I had a colleague who was sick. He's still there, but at least he's getting better these days. This person was forced to undergo a surgery for around 4 lakhs, a surgery of a hip replacement. Imagine 4 lakhs was the minimum then that he was supposed to pay for the surgery for a 5 days hospital service in one of the hospitals in India. How many can afford these kind of surgeries? That is the first question, and that is the same question that Professor Dasharan was raising. We have technologies, we have the development, we have the patents over these particular drugs, but who cares as to the affordability? Who cares as to these people, the poor people access? We have global policies at the global level. Yes, the UN is saying no poverty. But what measures is it taking to ensure that these particular people, the majority poor, there is a connection between whatever technologies and innovations that we are patenting or that we are coming up with and the sustainable development goal? You have the IPR regime in one hand, and you have the sustainable development goals on the other. It's like they do not coexist. Each is on its own. That is the foremost issue that I've observed for quite a long time. Global policies are made independent of very connected issues. People are not connecting these particular issues. That is number one. The second example, and which is a fact which I wanted also to introduce to you, is that, you see, in terms of famine or hunger, there are people who are not having even, they hustle to get a meal a day. But there are people who are having a meal a day, not that because they cannot cultivate, not that because they do not have farms. It's because they have
Dr. Matthias? So we shall move to the third speaker. It is, I think, due to the technical issue from our speaker. I would like to request Ms. Sarah to introduce Dr. Upankar and followed by Sir's speech.
It is my honor to introduce an esteemed academician, legal scholar, and researcher, Dr. Upankar Chutia, currently serving as an assistant professor at the Alliance School of Law, Alliance University, Bangalore. Dr. Upankar holds a PhD in law from MIT University, Noida, specializing in folklore and IPR. He has also secured 2 patents, including one on AI-driven detection of psychological issues in inmates and another on electricity generation from wastewater treatment. Dr. Upankar has been recognized with multiple awards, including the Best Researcher Award 2022 and 2023 by Alliance University. He has edited several books, including A Way Forward to Social Legal Contemplation, Handbook on Biodiversity Protection in India, to name a few. A prolific writer and editor, he has contributed numerous...
Sarah, I hope you can hear me. I received a very noisy background because we have the Kilimanjaro International Marathon taking place in our university campus tomorrow. So I had to close the windows that you can hear me. Allow me to use the next 10 minutes or 5 minutes to finish my presentation. I hope you had a very noisy background.
We were introducing Dr. Upankar because you have gone. Let's finish that one, then after we'll call upon you back.
Okay.
Thank you.
Dr. Upankar, a prolific writer and editor, he has contributed to numerous journals, conferences, and legal publications, and serves as an editor for leading law journals. His expertise extends to national and international paper presentations, faculty development programs, and organizing legal workshops. Dr. Upankar's dedication to legal research, education, and intellectual property law continues to inspire students and scholars alike. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Upankar Chutia.
Thank you, Sarah. But I think we shall hear Dr. Matthias first.
Yes, if Dr. Matthias is ready, you can complete your remaining speech. Then we'll follow by Dr. Upankar. So you may proceed because I think there's a technical issue from his side.
Yes. Thank you, Benjamin, sir, for giving me this opportunity to be here. It was so great hearing Dasarath, sir. You have been always inspiring people around. And today also you have inspired us a lot with your talks on various areas which normally we don't understand and we don't want to discuss about, because these are some gray areas where less publications and less research do happen, because only concern is economics, because we are not getting anything out of that, right? See, if we talk about poverty alleviations, because our main concern should be for the society as a whole, as Matthias and all the professors who have spoken has already talked about. Poverty is not a national problem; it's a global problem at large, and many steps has been taken up towards resolving these issues. Steps including from WIPO or WTO and many various other countries. Various experiences of countries has been taking place, but till date, why? The question is why it is not being resolved. What are the lacunas? What are the loopholes that are making us, or what are the stepping stones that are pulling us behind with this much of resources what we have in place? We have so much of patents, so much of trademarks, so much of geographical indications in the world at large. Why can't it help the community, the world as a community, or give a equal protection, or as Dasarath sir was talking about, inclusiveness? Why can't we at least safeguard the rights of all the people, irrespective to any nation, any state, or any territory at large? So these are bigger questions to answer, and the whole world community has been trying heads on towards discussing and deliberating on this. So with that, I would like to start my presentation. Is my slide visible? Is my slide visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Yes, wonderful. Okay. So going ahead with regard to the theme of the international webinar, with regard to role of intellectual property with regard to poverty alleviation, I would like to talk about how and why or the main motive behind granting of any kind of IP at large. If you see various definitions of IP says or IP rights are being granted to authors, IP rights are being granted to the creators or innovators for the hard work they have put in, and they get economic commercial rights over that work or innovation for a limited period of time. That is the main definition. But originally, or if you look at etymologically, to look at how IP curation and how IP regulation has to be done, or if you look at the jurisprudence of IP is being created for the society as a whole. IP or any kind of innovations, any kind of creations, any kind of development that has happened, it should be done for the society as a whole, and the society or the innovators are just the mediators or the vectors towards bringing that change or the development. For that, for the hard work they have put in, they get the limited amount of right. At no place, at no incident, there should be any situation wherein the IP should be a stepping stone towards limiting the rights or should be a stepping stone towards granting of equitable right to the masses, right? So today, if we look at a bigger concern, that is as our speakers were talking about the drugs and different types of innovations that is to be disseminated to the masses. That has not happened. As Dr. Matthias was speaking about the amount of money they have to spend on the basic treatment. How and why are we facing at this date? Obviously, COVID has taught us very great lessons to an extent that to an extent that how we have to regulate our society. The COVID has shown us how a society has to actually mitigate in a situations where a global concern is being created. Now, how and why at this point this kind of regulations is not being implemented? Is this the policy deficiency, or is the regulatory deficiency, or is it the executory deficiency? Now let me take you ahead on SDG 1. Basically, I will dive into SDG 1 in a larger scale, but let me talk about SDG, which talks about no poverty, which focuses on economic development, economic growth, social protection, equitable resources and access. Okay. Now connecting it to IP and SDG with regard to economic growth. Yes, IP has been a vector towards, it's an institution towards bringing economic growth. A good economy can always be considered where there is a good IP system. For example, many nations today could develop more because one incident, one concern that is IP. Even China has been developing more because the number of IP it holds, right? Furthermore, with innovation and economic growth, our main concern or IP's concern is fair and equitable market share. If you look at various competitive or competition regime at large, IP is directly inclined towards it, wherein with IP or through IP, the market penetration as well as the market access could be guaranteed, okay, whereby greater investment could be supported, which can also help in facilitating technology transfer and also at at a larger scale or at a broader scale, we can say that it can promote inclusivity and fair competitive regime. Anyways, all our speakers have already spoken about poverty. Poverty doesn't mean only the basic meeting the basic requirements. It also, as our key person, one of the key person, Syed Hasmi, has already pointed in his talk. He said that poverty only doesn't mean, or poverty doesn't include only basic essentials. It also include essential infrastructures. It also include all the infrastructures that has to be, or that is to be adequate for the society at large to grow equitably and to be inclusive of all, right? So if we talk about equitable infrastructure, that can only attain, or that can only happen with the right policies, because if you talk right policies and right regulations at place, we always talk about different SDGs, and India has been a way forward going towards achieving the SDGs through in the normative of 2030, wherein there are various I don't say lacunae, but there is a way or road towards it. This target of this SDG has been a greater, or had worked to a greater extent to a country, developing country like India. But there are many other countries in the world whereby, due to various lacunae, all the SDGs cannot be adhered. Now, how to look at SDGs and economics as well as IP? Now, SDG or IP, if you look at towards the intersection of IP and poverty alleviation, yes, IP to a greater extent can help economic opportunities. For example, if you see on my slide, there is a bigger circle which says that irrigation towards economic growth. As one of our speaker was talking about, the development can or happening of development if you give proper access or proper rights to the farmers at large. India being a farming oriented or farming driven country, if we can bring greater technology, or if you can bring a greater or better or a cheaper technology where irrigation of water can be provided to the masses, to the places where there is famine and all those things. So that can always boost economic growth, which can also help in economic as well as poverty alleviation. Okay. Furthermore, if you look at IP intersections with regard to poverty alleviations, we cannot alienate the role of or responsibility towards local communities, wherein local communities are always to be protected, rights to be protected. Furthermore, if you talk about providing rights towards local community, as Dasrath sir was rightly mentioning, the Nagoya Protocol, or the whole regimes of CBD has been talking about access to benefit sharing, fair and equitable benefit sharing with regard to traditional knowledge and various other resources. If we can at least presume towards, or if you can goal towards achieving all those regimes, or we can leap at least 50% towards achieving those goals, that will suffice the purpose to a greater extent. Furthermore, talking about intersection of IP and poverty alleviation, wherein technology transfer would also mean a lot, wherein if you talk about technology transfer, cheaper technologies or at better technologies in a lesser rate, or a technology which is more accessible to the people or more affordable to the people, can be always a boost for the community at large, for the world at large, which will actually help the society grew to grow and to a certain extent eliminate poverty to a greater extent. Furthermore, if you bring in more technology, if you bring in more investment, obviously the whole masses or the society will be at benefit. So already there have been a lot of talks in under WIPO with regard to poverty alleviation, towards granting of equitable rights, equitable fair regulations over the globe. Wherein TRIPS has been working, wherein TRIPS under various provisions, it talks about providing rights to the developing and developed nations, or giving a standard of rights, or various kind of duties to rest on developing countries towards helping the developing nations or underdeveloped nations in giving in technology transfer, or helping them with technology. So these are some of the concerns, or initiatives that has been taken. Now let me talk about the challenges in IP and poverty alleviation. It is the cost. Now we are talking about reducing the price of patents. But if we could look at the amount of resources you have to spend on getting a patent granted, it would be very unfair for a normal person to at least apply for patent, because at least for application, it's not just application. There had to be a panel of advocates or panel of IP associates whom you have to approach and get the patents. Imagine if we are talking about poverty alleviation, or if we try to resell our handloom products through our own company's name, or through our society's name, to just register the trademark. It would cost in more than 20 or 30,000 rupees in normal sense. Now the affordability of that comes into play, wherein other than affordability, there are also various roadblocks, such as market entry, because bigger players are always at a bigger end towards promoting, towards advertising their resources. How would a local communities work, would sustain in the market? To what extent the sustaination, or to what extent they will be in the righteous competitive spirit? So all these things are a bigger questions to answer today. Furthermore, if you talk about traditional knowledge, which is again a talk of the town, wherein obviously everyone says traditional knowledge, folklores have to be protected. I myself, being a researcher on folklore and indigenous knowledge, I have found out that we just include the word of protection of traditional knowledge without any regime at a global level, without a regime at national level. It is very difficult for us to protect, or even take traditional knowledge in an economic scale, wherein we just have a system of TKTL, which is obviously a good initiative, but to what extent? There had been a lot of traditional knowledge exploitation which has been happening. There had been, how about the resources that has been, or what about the benefit sharing that has been shared by the companies to the state diversity board and all those things? Why are the local communities not being benefited out of it? Those are the bigger questions to answer, whereby if we actually think of alleviation of poverty, the world or the world or the whole society should work towards achieving it. It's not just individual, not just a company, not just a country. WIPO has been taking out different steps. There have been various ordinances, various committees' decisions has been passed, or various experience of countries has been put out in the website of WIPO, whereby looking at those governance, even domestic legislations can be amended. So if we adhere to such regulations, obviously, to a greater extent, poverty can be alleviated, whereby mechanisms can always be there. Some of the mechanism is, if you can see in my slide, is towards helping in agriculture, wherein while talking about traditional knowledge and agriculture or farming rights, today we could see even in India, in such a developing stage, we could see a lot of farmer suicides because they cannot afford the amount of resources to be invested to grow a certain kind of plant or certain kind of crop in their field. It has been seen that all those prices has been hyped up because of the R&D that has been involved. And if you talk about R&D, even patent and all those rights are involved. How are we looking at? What kind of subsidies are you looking at? Even though there are lot many subsidies in place, why are we still not or why we till date we are not able to help the small scale farmers? So these are bigger questions to answer again, which can be only answered by the policies, and if we can ensure a free market. Okay. Now talking about healthcare, as our previous speakers were talking about, innovations are there. It's not that innovations are not there. Innovations are there, and facilities to or facilitating system to innovations are there. There have been many steps towards bringing bringing technology to India. There have been various steps towards a technology transfer, but there had been in between, there had been lot of disruptions, lot of irregularities which had created or which had been creating a loophole towards giving out the full potential of IP in healthcare sector. Because IP, if you talk about the healthcare, comes the epitome part, because most of the drugs and most of the resources are all backed by IPs. Obviously, if you talk about generic resources, yes, those are there. But to a greater extent, even if you talk about, as Sir was mentioning, the amount of or the whole costing of that person to get its health care was so exponential that it becomes unaffordable, right? Again, in technologies, yes, the world has been trying for a sustainable greener technology. Yes, greener technologies are there, but if this greener technology can be disseminated to the society at large, wherein the underprivileged part of the society can also get developed by those technologies. For example, job creation. For example, if it enhances various public services, that would also give a fair, equitable market. Okay. Furthermore, as I was talking about empowering local communities, yes, IP actually helps local communities towards a greater extent through GI, through traditional knowledge protection, which is backed by State Biological Diversity Authority, which is backed by National Biological Diversity Authority, which is again backed by Biological Diversity Act in India. Yes, all those regimes are there. Only concern here is the execution. If we can look at a better execution of resources, yes, poverty can be alleviated to a greater extent. Now, some more challenges, if you talk about here, is awareness among people about the technology, awareness of the people in the masses, awareness of the people who are documenting or who are in the policy making. Furthermore, if you talk about another challenge is limited access to IP protection, whereby, as I was talking about, just for registering or just for applying for registry of patent, it would cost so much. So thereby affordability of even the access towards IP protection is again a concern. Okay. Furthermore, I have been speaking about enforcement issue. These enforcement issues are always there, but with the government will and with the government initiative, yes, we can actually have a better penetration of IP in India. Yes, in India today we have been. It is seen that lot of government initiatives has been taken, as Dasrat sir was mentioning about Startup India, right, which helps the startups to grow or to apply for patent. Yes, because of the lack of awareness, because lack of resources towards bringing awareness, those has been a problem. Furthermore, if you look at policy framework, yes, TRIPS is there. WIPO, I was talking about developmental agendas are there. Again, national strategies. Yes, we have strategies in India called Startup India, Farmers' Right, various agendas, various strategies on farmers' rights are there. Yes, it is there, but we need to refine it. We need to relook at where there is a problem. Yes, that's how we can bring inclusiveness for the whole of the society, right? With that, I would like to conclude my talk on poverty alleviation. I hope this my talk had created some, if it can create some awareness on poverty alleviation and SDG, that would suffice the purpose. And I would once again thank you, Benjamin sir, for giving me this opportunity. Again, Dasrat sir, Dr. Matthias, again, uh, wholeheartedly, I would like to thank Mr. Hasmi for inviting me, for coordinating and organizing such a beautiful event, because this is one such event wherein this kind of influential talk or talk for the society could happen. And if this kind of, I would like to also request Benjamin sir to organize such kind of events very regularly, so that the society gets aware, the society know where are we lagging. And it is not only India, as poverty is a global issue. Let the whole world contribute towards it. As in WIPO, many African countries has been giving out experiences. Even we India, we would also, or University of Mysore can also take an initiative towards giving the world an idea or the experiences, where are we lagging on this regard. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your comprehensive insight to the topic, starting from the folklore to the health sector and to financial inclusion, even to the IP awareness, which is another area to be explored. Now we come to the end of this session. I would like to request Professor M.S. Benjamin, Chairman, Dean Faculty of Law, Department of Studies in Law, University of Mysore, to deliver the presidential address. Sir, over to you.
Good afternoon, my esteemed colleague and the chief guest of the program, Professor N. Dasarath, former Dean, Chairman, Faculty of Law, Bangalore University, currently serving as Principal, University College of Law, Bangalore, distinguished speakers, Dr. Matthias S. Uhi, Head of the Department of Law, Mosi Cooperative University, Tanzania, Dr. Rupankar, Associate Professor, Alliance School of Law, Alliance University, Bangalore. Dear participants, members of organizing team, Mr. Syed Qudrat Hasmi, a research scholar, the Department of Law, Sarah MB, the student of LLM, the ladies and gentlemen. It gives me an immense pleasure to deliver the presidential address on the occasion of an international webinar on the role of intellectual property rights and poverty alleviation, organized by the Department of Law, University of Mysore. All speakers, Professor N. Dasarath, Dr. Matthias, Dr. Rupankar, focused on two important themes. One is the significance of intellectual property rights in terms of how it contributes for sustainable development, economic growth, and foster socio-economic conditions of marginalized sections of the society. Secondly, the eradication of the poverty. Poverty is still a challenging issue of the present world. In recent years, we have witnessed tremendous economic growth, advancement of science and technology, research and development. In 2023, India launched successfully Chandrayaan-3 to conduct experiment on the moon. Yet, millions of people in India and across the world live below the poverty line. Lacks of access to basic facilities like food, shelter, and clothing, quality education, and affordable health care. As Gujarat put it in the introduction itself, according to World Bank report of 2024, 8.5% of the global population, almost 700 million people, live today on less than $2.15 per person per day. Extreme poverty exists in low-income countries, that is, third world countries. 3/4 of the population who live in extreme poverty are the people of African countries. Where on poverty line or income level, you can classify countries into three categories: high-income countries, middle-income countries, and low-income countries. As regards India is concerned, as of November 2024, about 60% of India population, that is around 1.3 billion people, live on less than $3.10 per person per day. 21%, that is more than 250 million people, survive on less than $2 per day. Today, richest 10% of the people of India controls 80% of the country's wealth. According to the survey conducted by Oxfam, an international agency fighting poverty, the top 1% owns 58% of India's wealth, whereas in US, 1% of rich people owns 37% of the wealth. We still come across with instances of starvation death, hunger, malnutrition, discrimination, inequality in status, inhuman conditions for living, and shelterless people because of poverty. Now, the moot point is how to emancipate or deliver people from hunger or poverty, or how to eradicate the poverty. What mechanisms or tools are available to improve socio-economic conditions of the poor people in the country? I tell you, one of the means and ways is intellectual property rights, such as patents, copyrights, trademarks, or trade secrets, and industrial designs. Intellectual property rights create, as observed by Dr. Upankar, intellectual property rights create opportunities for the creator or innovators to commercialize their work. They can market it globally, attract the inflow of capital from the abroad, generate employment opportunities, that promote social development of the individuals, and thereby IPR contributes for eradication of poverty. Intellectual property plays very significant role in poverty eradication by encouraging innovation, promoting economic growth, facilitating access to the new technologies. I believe that this type of academic discourse provides a platform to debate how best you can use IPR as a tool for property eradication. I hope we will have the meaningful discussion, and the participants will try to find out the innovative solution to bridge the gap that exists between IPR and poverty. Thank you, Professor N. Dasarath sir, the chief guest of the program, Dr. Matthias, the guest of honor, Dr. Rupankar Chautia, the keynote speaker, and all participants. I thank you once and again.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So much. We come to the end of this formal inaugural proceedings. Now we shall proceed with our presentations. So we request our esteemed dignitaries, you may leave because of the time. It may continue till 6. Then it will be followed by vote of thanks at the end of the second session. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much that you have joined us.
Thank you.
Dr. Upankar and Professor Darshan.
Thank you, Professor.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, and I wish you a very great day ahead. It was nice interacting with you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
I am professor.
Yes, he's a professor.
In India.
Yeah.
So we shall start with our presentation. The first presenters would be Mr. Ashray Chakraborty. Are you there?
Yes, sir. So a very warm afternoon to the esteemed chair,
Yes.
respected
Okay.
guests.
Here, your teacher, your author. Where is he?
So
Yes, both of you should be there. Did he join?
he has joined.
Okay, so you have 10 minutes from now, 5 minutes each.
Right, sir.
Yes,
So I would be presenting the whole paper, sir.
this is a joint paper.
Right. So
There
can
should
I
be
begin?
joint presentation. I have informed you yesterday the same thing. Yeah, I have informed you, right?
So can I begin?
No, I cannot violate that.
Sorry, sir.
We are presenting on copy. We are presenting on IPR.
Right, sir. Yes.
Yes. So then both of you should present the paper. So you have each one of you 5 minutes. Please proceed with your 5 minutes. Then it's followed by your author. The same thing goes with every presenters. Yes. You
All
may-
right, sir.
Your time
Sir,
starts.
Asha sir is in the meeting.
If it's in the meeting, then you present your 5 minutes and you can leave. So without further ado, till you bring him, I will be going for the second presenter, Miss Priyanka. See. The
Sure, sir.
topic from the seats to the sofa. Yes. A student from University Law College, Bangalore. She will presenting on the topic on the intersection of IPR and agriculture development, how intellectual property rights can empower farming communities. Ma'am, proceed. You have 10 minutes from now. Your time starts by 4.
Namaste everyone. I am Priyanka Casey. I'm from University Law College, Bangalore University.
Okay, to make corrections, you said that farming communities, it should be very clear. Farming communities where? You can proceed with your presentation, but the farming communities, you should be clear with your title.
So today I'll be presenting on the topic Unlocking Agricultural Potential Through Intellectual Property Rights in the Fight Against Poverty and Hunger. So despite of having unprecedented advancements in agricultural technology, globalization, still the field of food insecurity continues to haunt the entire world. So in the year 2024, according to the Global Hunger Index, India had a score of 27.3. So this score represents that the level of hunger in India is serious. So in the same year, 2024, India ranked 126 out of 147 countries on Global Multidimensional Poverty Index. So this was a drop from 125th place in 2023. So these figures, it represents that millions of individuals and families are trapped in the cycle of poverty and malnutrition. So the burden of this crisis, it falls on the small farm holders in the poverty-stricken regions. So these farmers, the very backbone of our global food system, often lack the access to the improvised seeds, efficient technology, and the fair market opportunities, which is necessary to break from the poverty and to feed their communities. So through this presentation, we will learn how strategically leveraging of the intellectual property rights can act as a catalyst to improve agricultural productivity, enhance food security, and to eradication of the poverty in these vulnerable areas. So we'll have a little brief about what intellectual property rights are. So intellectual property rights are those exclusive rights which are given to the creators or the inventors. So in relation to the agriculture, it helps farmers, inventors, and the local communities to protect their ideas, inventions, and the products. So it encourages them to make new varieties, to protect the traditional knowledge, and to make money because of their hard work, ensuring fairness that and also preventing exploitation. So we'll be discussing about the different type of IPR in agriculture. We have patents. So patents are the right of ownership which is given for new invention. So in the drought-prone areas, if somebody develops seeds which are resistant to these droughts, so that can get patented and it can be given to the farmers for the cultivation, which in turn increases the agricultural productivity. We have plant breeders' rights and farmers' rights. So these are the rights which are given to the new type of plant of mangoes that can grow even in dry weather. Then we have trademarks. So trademarks are like logos and brand names which help to recognize these products. So farmers can get fair price for their products. It also helps to build trust with the customers. Then we have geographical indications. So these are the special labels for the products which come from particular area because of the unique quality. So we have Darjeeling tea, which comes from Darjeeling. We have Mysore silk sarees coming from Mysore, and Mysore Pak, the famous Mysore Pak. And also under this IPR, we have the concept of biopiracy. So biopiracy happens when somebody takes advantages of the traditional knowledge from the local community and uses it to create something valuable, which does not, and they do not share any profit with the community. So through IPR, these local communities are protected, and we have very famous cases of turmeric case, a neem case, a basmati case. Under these protections are given. So now we'll look at the role of IPR in agriculture. Agriculture plays a very crucial role in providing food and livelihood. So there are various challenges which are faced in agriculture. The very first problem that the farmers in these poverty-stricken areas face are poor soil quality. So because the farmers keep producing the same kind of crop every year without getting the soil tested, so the soil will lack all the essential nutrients which is needed for healthy crop to be grown. So the poor soil quality, which in turn leads to the low yields, which means that the farmers can't produce enough to feed their families or to sell in the market. Also, there is unpredictable weather conditions because of the climate change and also extreme dependency on the rainfall. So because of these droughts or floods, or because of these unexpected storms or the lack of rainfall, farming becomes very riskier. And also because of lack of irrigation facilities, either they do not have access to reliable agricultural system, or the over dependency on the rainfall, it also hinders their farming. And also pests, diseases which tend to destroy their crops because of their either because of the negligence to better pest control methods, or because of the absence of the effective pest control methods, by which the crops get destroyed severely. So this can be reduced, and which will actually lead to the financial loss of the farmers. So these challenges are interconnected. So when the crop yields are low and the farmers don't earn enough to invest in their better tools, be it seeds or technologies, this creates a cycle of poverty where farmers remain stuck, unable to improve their productivity or the quality of life. So now we'll see how IPR can be used as a solution or a catalyst to combat this hunger and poverty. So IPR plays a very important role in breaking this cycle of poverty and hunger. So first, it provides framework for the protection of this new agricultural invention. I spoke about the drought-resistant seeds and also high-yielding crops. So by granting patents, trademarks, and other protections, So IPR makes sure that these technologies are protected and safeguarded from any theft or misuse, and it encourages innovations. So by giving proper protection, the investors and researcher can invest more time, more money in this research of this, in developing these new agricultural technologies, and they can share it with the farmers. So now the farmers can make better use of these technologies to create good crops, and they can use these modern farming technologies, which in turn improve their productivity. And also by making this innovation accessible to all. By doing so, through licensing agreements to partnerships, so farmers will have access to these advanced technology at much affordable rate. And then the new innovations, be it in pest control, irrigation method, or crop varieties, it can improve the food production, which makes farmers to grow more food even in the challenging conditions. So which helps them to get higher income and improved food security, which ultimately leads to the reduction in the poverty. So we can take the example of BT cotton in India. So BT cotton is a genetically modified crop which was developed to resist the pests like cotton bollworm. So the cotton plants, which are engineered with a gene from the bacteria Bacillus thuringiensis, it produces a harmful toxin which is harmful for the pest, but it is safe for the human beings. So this innovation, it is patented under Patents Act 1970. So by planting this BT cotton, farmers no longer have to spray those harmful pesticides, and the crops become naturally resistant to the pests, which leads to higher yields and low production costs. So the farmers get better benefits from the cotton harvest, and also this is environmentally sound as well. So there are other various solutions or the advantages of IPR. I already mentioned about the new access to the new technology, also for the promotion of a fair market competition, and it also attracts investment both at the national and international level, and also it promotes sustainable agriculture, it protects traditional knowledge against biopiracy, it improves food security. So now we'll see the strategies which can help to maximize these IPR benefits. First is educating the farmers. So there are various schemes under the which has been launched by the central government and state governments. So if the farmers are made aware of this, if they are educated, if they are trained enough about all these, so that the farmers can have better access to these tools, they can make better utilization and improve the agriculture production, and all these poverty, hunger, everything can be solved. So we have various schemes here. So Dr. Dashrath sir talked about the PM Kisan Samman Nidhi scheme, where under this scheme, annually 6,000 rupees is given for farmers in 3 monthly installments as 2,000 rupees month, like in 3 installments. And we have various other schemes, be it PM Kisan Man Dhan Yojana. Here, the scheme was launched on 12th September 2019. So it provides security to the most vulnerable farming families. So the applications here, they can be made from the age of 18 to 40 years. So after 60 years, they can get a pension of 3,000 rupees every month. So that and here more than 23 lakhs families have been enrolled, and they are getting benefit of this. So we also have for the problem of irrigation. So we have various schemes like per drop more crop scheme, which was introduced in 2015, and we also have rain fed area development scheme, which was launched in 2014. So these provide for integrated farming, and also for the better like drip and sprinkle irrigation system, which will be effective for the farmers to grow their farms effectively, even in the areas, even in the drought prone areas. And also we have micro irrigation fund and various other schemes are there. We even have soil health card for the farmers to check the quality of their soil, so that they can improve, they can build on the field, and also they can improve the soil quality. So there are many people, 5,000 crores have been invested by the government. So the farmers, by making sure that they have the proper awareness of all this. So actually we can take the example of students who are studying in the agricultural department. We have GKVK college. So the agricultural students who are studying, they can be actually made a part of all these programs. We can take the help of them to spread awareness. We can actually have workshops for the farmers to be educated here. And also we have a promotion and transfer of technology. So there are various good technologies which are used by the developed countries. So if that is feasible in India as well, we can actually transfer those technology, and we can make sure that those technologies are brought in to India as well. So it makes sure that the cultivation here is boosted. So all these problems of poverty, hunger, everything will be eradicated. And also we should start investing more in agriculture research and development. And also we have the Nagoya protocol, which ensures for the local community to get better benefit because of the use of their genetic resources. We have to follow all this, and then we can seek for international cooperation from WIPO, FAO, all this. And then we can also we have to also emphasize on the role of global governance here. So one of the keynote speakers mentioned about the sustainable developmental goals. So these were adopted by the United Nations in 2015. So these have 17 global goals, out of which the very first and the second sustainable developmental goal talks about ending of poverty and zero hunger, to end poverty in any forms everywhere, and also to end hunger, achieve global food security, to improve nutrition, and also to promote sustainable agriculture. So we have to make sure that the farmers are aware about all this.
Priyanka, your presentation is about to. Okay. Let me ask you some question. You have mentioned about, your title talks about agriculture, IPR potentials for the agriculture. Let me know that, what are the provision of the patent? Since you mentioned a patent, and could you highlight something about breeding rights and geographical indications, something which is closely attached to the...
Sir, can the question be added in the chat box? I cannot hear properly.
Can you hear me? I'll repeat once again for you. Are
no,
you
sir.
Hear me?
No.
Melanie, unmute there. Please unmute me there. No, just unmute the screen.
So can I log in different device for a minute?
No, it is fine. Just you unmute here. No, not her. Me.
You
Yeah.
unmuted.
Unmute. No, mute. Sorry.
Recording in progress.
See.
Can I log out of this one?
Okay, right.
Device. Thank you. Yes, sir, I can hear you now.
Yes. So your title talks about unlocking agricultural potential through intellectual property. You have mentioned about that.
Yes.
Would you like to, because you are in the end of your presentation, to highlight the provisions of geographical indication, breeding rights, and the patent, and particularly you tell from which provisions the farmer can take a benefit of it?
Sir,
Just
we have
attaching to SDG and coming to IPR, this will be a very general statement, so that we are not come to the basic answer what we search for.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So if the farmers have to seek the help for geographical indications, we have the Act of Geographical Indications of Goods Registration and Protection Act 1999. So this act provides for the legal recognition and the protection of the goods which originate from the specific areas which has unique characteristics. So this provides for the registration, and I have given the example of Mysore silk, Mysore pak, Darjeeling tea, Kanjivaram saris. So this act protects them from any misuse or imitation that can be made out of the geographical name. So this ensures that the farmers receive rightful value for their traditional products and help them to get better access to the market, and also they're getting fair price, and their unique products are like there is no exploitation of their unique products in the global market. And the second question you asked about the farmers' rights. So we have the Protection of Plant Varieties and Farmers Act 2001, which provides which protects the rights of the farmers as well as the plant breeders. So here this act provides for the registration of the new plant varieties, and also the plant breeders, they give the exclusive right to sell these varieties as well. So these two are the important legislations in India for the protection of geographical indication and for the farmers and breeders' rights, sir.
Right. Thank you. So we shall be reverting back to Mr. Ashrai Chakraborty and his presenter. So did you join?
Yes, I'm almost very much in the meeting.
Yes, please. Will you please?
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
I would like to ask my co-author to start the slides. Ghana, can you start the slide here?
Yes, you have been given access. Please proceed.
Yes. So our topic is on intellectual property rights and the agriculture innovations in poverty-stricken regions. So as we are grown up in this subcontinental situation, first thing is I would like to say is most of the farmers are coming from the extremely poor background. No farmer is rich, exactly. But the people who take the benefits from the government and in return they ask for this what do you call to waive the loans. They are the fake farmers, according to me. What I've observed till now. So how intellectual property can innovate their farming techniques, first thing, and how they can generate their own indigenous revenue. That's the whole point here. But if you see, IPR is off late reaching the farmers now. The next slide. The role of the intellectual property in the agricultural innovation. How it has been innovative, because from the 1950s, if I take the data till now, how the farmers have innovated in their agricultural techniques. First, they used to have the bulls, and now also they have some bull to plow the land, and some have tractors, and some have added some more innovative tools for the farming here and for the agricultural purposes. So IPR will act as a catalyst for innovation here. And if you see the farming practices and technologies, if they improve, the farmers will get to know, and if there is a kind of a awareness given to them, and I'm very sure that that will reach the farmers, and they will use the tools and techniques for the better farming. Next slide. So there is a challenges here for the farmers who are in poverty-stricken regions and they are unable to access these kind of innovative products. So first challenges is the high cost innovation. Second one is the marginalization of the local knowledge and lack of awareness and understanding. Many farmers in somewhere who are very near to the urban population, they are somehow aware of the new techniques and the tools and the innovations. But if you go to the rural remote place, in the rural places, they are unable to access to these. If they get access also, there will be a kind of a hardship for them to use. So this is why recently, before drafting this paper, after drafting this paper, our Prime Minister had launched one scheme regarding the drones to sprinkle the fertilizers to the crops. So I was supposed to add that, but it was too late for me. But in the presentation, I'm making this a point where that would be another innovative step for the farmers, especially women farmers who have been encouraged in that, because fertilizers are too dangerous for the human being. So as we know, in the poverty-stricken regions, they are less aware to how to take care about to themselves. So this will be an innovative method. Next slide. So next is the balancing protection and accessibility. So the triple P, what you call the public-private partnership, that will be a game changer here, where if the as private entities are being invited to invest in the public policies, you can see there might be an accessibility for everyone, because government will be having less advertising skills, what we know till now. If the private entities come forward and create awareness and make sure it reach the last farmer of this country, so that the innovations what they're happening in IPR, intellectual property, that will be reached to the farmers. And obviously, the challenge of the balance of protection in compulsory licensing. So it has been protected under the Indian Patents Act under certain restrictions to ensure the greater accessibility without compromising the incentives for innovations. Next is open access research. So these projects, open access research, these kind of projects can promote huge collaborations between the private and also the public entities. The the government's fund and the research expertise of the private will do the wonders here, and fostering the development of technology that will benefit all the stakeholders. So the next part of the presentation
Yeah.
will be done by
So
my
here I have a
co-author.
question from you. And what
Yes,
elements compulsory licensing can be taken under IPR? What are the
Kudrat,
three core
I'm sorry, you're not audible. It's your voice is echoing.
My voice is echoing.
Yeah.
I would like to request you, I put in this way, what are the three core elements that IPR allows for the compulsory licensing, particularly in the patent?
For the
So we make a compulsory
okay.
license against any innovation.
Hmm.
What are
Yes,
three
yes.
elements? Yes.
So regarding the compulsory licensing, as you said, there are some innovative products which have been bought by various companies in terms of techniques. So if that is made, compulsory comes under the ambit of the compulsory licensing.
No, right.
Even
But how the
yeah,
government can, under what circumstances? For example, now in case of medicine, we have a compulsory licensing in case of
yes,
medicine.
yes,
But here, in case
yeah,
of agriculture, which you said, how we can see, for example, for the public
mm,
purpose, emergency
yes, yes,
and we can use medicine. We can make a compulsory licensing of medicine because it
yes.
is costly, it is not affordable. But under
Mm.
agriculture, do you think, is there anything that, the government can impose compulsory licensing over an innovation?
Absolutely, because the tools which have been coming these days shall be given that protection shall be given to the manufacturer and the person who has designed it. And yes, patents is not a permanent license till the end. It will be only for 10 years. Better
Right.
the person who has designed it, let him yield something.
Even if it is a foreign investor.
For an investor, it's up to the government to accept it or not. But it's our
No, it is
humble
a foreign
request.
investor
Yeah.
on agriculture. Let's say a foreign investor invests in Mysore, brought a drone on the agriculture, and as you have mentioned on poverty-stricken regions. So can the
Yes.
government of India nationalize? What we say, the compulsory licensing, it means, converting from private to the public, bringing
Yes.
the
Yes.
government
Yes.
control. Can the government do that?
See, it's up to the decision of the government, but we
No,
can.
we don't left the question open-ended. It's just a certain answer. Can the government make that compulsory licensing of the foreign property?
So
But
usually government,
because
no, no, no.
agriculture does not
Usually,
create emergency, no.
absolutely, absolutely. But usually government never gives the patent for these kind of things for the foreign entities. Only the people who
No, I am
invest
saying the
in this
foreign
way.
companies are working on this. How we could
Hmm.
say that it is the government does not give. Foreign investors come work on agriculture sector, particularly
Hmm.
as say for the, like, let's see, one of the innovative that which will help, for example, for irrigation techniques or something to help the farmers. So the thing is that it is not an emergency. Of course, it is for the public purpose. The question is,
Yes.
government can impose compulsory licensing for them under Section 30 of the Patent Act.
So you're speaking about the foreign investors?
Yes. So because you have mentioned
Foreign, yes.
number 2 that the government can implement the compulsory licensing, which allows the use of the patented technologies. Now, when we say,
Yes.
compulsory licensing of the patented technologies, there are some, for example, foreign investors, if they are dealing with
But
this, can government make a
you have not,
compulsory
no, no,
license?
no, no.
Yeah.
Not ended the sentence here under certain restrictions. So what I we can suggest here in this webinar regarding the techniques and tools and the foreign licensing and the foreign investors, but it's up to the government's decision here.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
usually government never.
just I want to know one more thing, because for audience to know better. What do you mean by poverty-stricken regions? Where are those regions? For example, could you name a few, for example, in Mysore, around Mysore, Bangalore, Delhi, Gujarat, Ahmedabad, UP?
I would like to concentrate on one particular part of Karnataka, that is the district of Gulbarga. Now
Okay.
it is called as
In the
Kalaburgi.
title, yeah, we would
Yes,
like to
yes.
request in your title you make it as a good,
Absolutely, yeah,
but the
absolutely. Because
feedback.
if I had specified regarding the which place, I should have go for the empirical study to that place. But due to the time constraint, I couldn't do that. But I would like to quote the example of one district in Karnataka, that is Kalaburgi,
Mhm.
where the soil is more fertile than the soil we see here in Mysore, in and
Mhm.
around the Kaveri basin.
Mhm.
But the problem is the rainfall.
Mhm.
Due to that, people are unable to do this agricultural practices.
Right. Mm.
And for that, there is another practice in Gulbarga that they go in migration to Maharashtra and especially Pune and Mumbai for do some labor works there. After some time, they'll come back. So that is the practice going on in that part of Karnataka. So if government had some think if they think towards this and make sure that if the investment is made in such kind of regions, people will not struggle for the 2 square meals of per day.
Okay, right. Thank you. Thank you so much. So we will be hearing from your co-presenters.
Yes.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Chair. Good afternoon to the esteemed Chair and fellow scholars. So, as Sir has already dealt with the public-private partnerships and compulsory licensing mechanisms, so I would like to now deal with the rest of the policy recommendations of the said topic. So, um, after the private and public-private partnership, and as well as the compulsory licensing mechanisms, um, now let's get into the open source agricultural research. So, with this, encouraging open access research can counterbalance restrictive patents. Countries like Brazil have invested in public agricultural research institutions, such as we all know, it's Embrapa, which develops and distributes a non-patented seed varieties suited to local conditions. So, which means this strategy empowers farmers by providing them with access to high yielding seeds without financial constraints. So, this can again act as a recommendation which can further simplify the complications of this. The next is the education and capacity building. So, the capacity building means that many smallholders these days in the current scenario, many smallholder farmers are unaware of their rights. So, which when the farmers are not aware of their rights, or when they're not aware of their legal status with respect to IPR, that lacks the importance of their rights. So, when they're unaware of their rights and options when it comes to seed purchasing, traditional knowledge, protection, and innovation adoption would by default lack. So governments and NGOs would it would be great if the governments and NGOs if they work together collectively to equip these farmers with the necessary knowledge to make an informed decisions. So this would help the community of farmers or the indigenous or the small communities to further foster in their farming equipments. So next would be affordable licensing models. So governments should negotiate a lower licensing fees for patented agricultural technologies to ensure accessibility for smallholder farmers. So um, when the government takes an active role in negotiation of lowering the licensing fees for patented agriculture, it would obviously be um, easier on the part and lesser complexities on the part of the farmers, right? So, or not farmers, but it could also be on the a smaller community of farmers. Well, and obviously that comes again with strengthening the farmers' rights and bringing them awareness about their legal status and their rights. So, and in terms of international cooperation on biopiracy, stronger global agreements should be enforced to recognize and compensate indigenous communities. And like I said earlier, this would help in the contributions of agricultural knowledge in the farmers, right? And with respect to the climate resilient agriculture, investment in sustainable farming practices such as agroforestry, forestry, or permaculture should be prioritized to mitigate the effects of climate change. So, which the agriculture which agricultural practices, like I mentioned, if such um, non-supporting or non-appreciative practices are being followed, this would not support the climate resilient culture that we're trying to bring in. So, the current global events and their impact on agricultural innovations would further highlight the importance of equitable access to agricultural innovations. So, with the policy recommendations that both Sir and I have pitched in, I would further like to um, uh, uh, tell about the current situation in Ukraine. So, the war in Ukraine, where Ukraine is the largest or the major exporter of wheat and grains. So, as we all know that the war which took place in Ukraine between Russia and Ukraine, which is again the major exporter of wheat and other grains, has disrupted global food chains or food supply chains, leading to increased food insecurity in developing nations. So this crisis, what would happen is this crisis would underscore the urgent need for self-sufficiency in agriculture. Obviously, when the war takes place, the immediate action cannot be taken,
Ms.
right?
Ghana,
So the
this Ukraine
depression.
and Russia, is it the example or just because you're going beyond the topic? You are
So this is just an example, sir.
concentrating on Gulbarga. If you say that the war was in Ukraine and Russia, are you using this as a form of example or you?
This is just a form of example, sir.
No, right. It should be in the form of example because if you go there, you know,
Yes, sir.
me from your title somewhere else.
Right,
Yes.
sir.
To
So,
where is the poverty striking regions? Like how there's, for example, now previous presenters spoken about the seeds resistance against the drought. So those sort of
right,
places, like if you could highlight exactly, particularly, okay, what is your finding? So at the last, what is your yeah, what is your finding?
right, sir. I would like to answer the question which you just asked.
Yeah.
So, the prolonged droughts in East Africa could be the best example in this regard to the questions that you asked.
But
so,
your topic is around India. So could you give example here? You live that Africa for them. So you tell me, what is your finding in India, which you're working on?
So with respect to be it in the
is there any measures under patent or, for example, geographical indication or breeders' right, like to tackle these measures? Particularly talks about like to provide the technology. Of course, the goal of copyright and patent is just for the progress of the science and development. But could you tell specifically, like now you have chosen poverty stricken regions, like is there any provision how you suggest that, how to bridge this?
So the bridging of this gap. So like a sir mentioned about Kalburgi. So like with respect to Indian scenario, obviously in places such as Kalburgi or be it also in places of Rajasthan where drought is exemplified, which I mean the state or the land um, sees such kinds of situations such as droughts, and to bridge these gaps, the government, the research institutions, and the private sectors that sir mentioned about the public-private partnerships.
IPR policy talks about. India has
Sorry,
got
sir?
policy to 2024. What Indian IPR policy talks about these issues?
Sir, I didn't get you, sir.
Did you read that Indian IPR policy about this? just 2024. It was made by the Ministry of Commerce.
Oh, right, sir. But your voice is not audible, so
Okay, what IPR policy of India talks about these issues?
sir, can you please come again?
Okay. What is the Indian IPR policy talk about? Okay, thank you. We will be moving for the third. Third presenters is Julian Jacobi.
Hello. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Kudrat, one second. I was audible regarding that. Now, IPR policy on the agriculture now in 2024, they have concentrated on this production of plant varieties and the Farmers' Rights Act of 2020. So that has been concentrated. But unfortunately, that has nothing to do with our topic here.
No, because when we say that I have asked her that what are her suggestions. So then what is the government? So there should be a finding because the policy become a later.
Yes.
So what further ado we'll be discussing on this. Further.
Yes, in the starting of my presentation, I spoke about this drone technology given to the women farmers so that they cannot directly get exposed to dangerous fertilizers.
Right.
So I think that can be taken as a suggestion here.
Right, fine. Thank you.
Yes.
So we will go for the next presenter, Julian Jacobi. The topic is about the emerging trends and challenges of intellectual property rights. So it is also about protection in the global impacts. Are you there, Julian Jacobi? No. So we will be following by Dr. Monica Jain and Ms. Palak. Dr. Monica, you have 5 minutes, then it is followed by your co-presenter.
Good afternoon, sir. I'm Palak Garg.
Yes, where is your co-presenter?
I'm sorry, sir. She is busy in the.
Yes, ma'am.
It's an urgency.
Could you be a little louder? Could you be a little louder, please?
Sir, actually, it was an emergency, so she has gone and she's busy. Sorry, sir.
No, both of you should be there in the presentation.
Sir, could I give in the presentation?
No, let her join you. So we will be going for the next presenter, call her to be. So this is a joint work, no?
Yes,
the same
sir.
thing is followed in, okay, right. So we follow a harmonized system. So we will be moving for Kavita Rawat, the role of IPR in the global sharing of the technologies.
Sir, it's Anshika Rawat.
Yes. Please proceed.
Anshika, I'm with my co-author Ishika Rawat.
Okay, you have 5 minutes, then followed by your co-presenters, right?
Sir, do you have to switch on the video?
No, if you want to open it, would be fine. We would be very happy to see you. And you can share the screen also. Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. You're very much audible.
Oh,
yes.
Thank you, sir. Sir, good afternoon, everyone. I am Anshika Rawat with my co-author Ishka Rawat. We are presenting our paper on the role of IPR in global sharing of technologies. As we are currently living in a digital world, the emergence of technology has led to the emergence of IPR also. According to the Universal Declaration of the Human Rights, the intellectual property right can be stated as the everyone has a right to protection of the moral and material interest emanating from the scientific, literary, and creative achievement of which he is a creator. It means every creator has its own can have the protection of its own creation. There are 7 types of the IPR: trademark, patent, copyright, geographical indication, industrial design, semiconductor, integrated circuit layout design, and plant varieties. Then these to describe these, the trademark is kind of protection from the one existing product from the another which is present in the industry. In India, the Trademark Act 1999 regulates it for dispute and registration of trademark of all Indian industries. Copyright is also known as the authorized literary work, literary privilege, refer to the author exclusive right to his own artistic and literary work. In India, the Copyright Act 1957 regulates it. Then following by the patent refer to the invention and innovation which is protected from getting plagiarized or copied by the another person. Geographical Indication Act can be like defined as the it is like kind of linked with a product which is linked associated with the specific places, like using a geographical indications. It may include the quality, reputation or special feature of the such product, like Darjeeling tea, and in India the geographical indication of good registration and protection act of 1919 regulates it. The strategic importance of the IP and digital world. As we know that the data is data is of the one person or product is very valuable currency. The IPA follows a very has a
Could you be a little specific how that you are talking about the technology, sharing of the technologies can help agriculture and the farmers, so, or people in terms of what we call about poverty, how it can help? And you see, there is a criticism from the scholars that the TRIPS agreement aimed to bring balanced approach between the developing states and developed states. So now we see that the IPR is more concentrated on the developed states, such as industrialized countries such as Germany, you see France, you see that Finland, USA, and so on. But there are the countries which are like, in the developing stage. For example, when India wanted to accede to the TRIPS agreement, India amended several laws to reach, to get access to market. Now, could you say that about the sharing of the technologies, how it could help the poverty? And you see there is an issue over the strict IPR policy and that open market IPR policy. If you tell me the exact, then you can cover what you want to say.
Sir, could you just divide the question into some one single question? You asked too many questions. I'm too sorry.
Right. So I may put in this way. See, there is a significant discourse over the IPR that it creates barrier, means make the developing states poor, where the rich states, such as, for example, the developed states, I give a new example of Germany, USA, and Finland, you see Singapore even. So these are the countries which are, they are good with the in terms of IPR protection. So then when there is a strict IPR, so that these people are called, these countries are called industrialist nations. So they are benefiting more from IPR rather than the developing states. Now, when you are talking about the share of technology, you mean indirectly that the transfer of technology. How these processes help the developing states or the poor countries?
So if I could say, I'm going to say in simpler words, okay? So if I could say, technology sharing in developed countries is like growing rapidly because if I could say they have a good reputation, kind of.
You can give to your chance for your co-presenters. She will present. Yes.
Yeah. Yes, sir. She's sitting beside me.
Yes, ma'am. You proceed.
Sir, would I like proceed with the presentation, or should I answer the question?
No, you proceed with your presentation.
Okay, sir. So I will begin with the IPR and the demand for technologies. While it is widely acknowledged that IPR protection influences the value of technology in the recipient countries, this aspect has not been thoroughly studied quantitatively, but most discussion are mostly focused on the supply side, such as the willingness of these technology holders to transfer the technology, the method of transfer, and the contractual details. Like first, the research on the IP protection and the technological demand. For current purposes, it is proposed to research how IP protection affect the demand for technologies. Another important research question is to explore the impact of the IPR regime on the domestic markets and competition, etc. Second is measuring technology demand. Separating the measurement of technological demand from its supply possesses the additional data challenges. One of the interesting data shows that it is in the stock market, which can show that how the research and development variation changes with the IP protections. For example, in Aurora, Chatterjee and Branster 2007 works found that the value of the capitalized research and development expenditure for the Indian pharmaceutical firms increased with the strengthening of the pharmaceutical patent regimes. Then next is case studies and practical methods. Another valuable approach would be a conducting case studies on individual firms on or industries to understand better how the IP protection conditions the demand for technology. For instance, in Aurora, the studies on the Indian pharmaceutical industry shows that the changes in the patent regime profoundly shifted the leading firm strategies from the imitation to innovation. In some of the industries, move have also resulted into the increase in the demand for technologies. Then next is considering the technological sources. Exploring the demand for the technological naturally leads researcher to examine how the sources of the technology results. Now, next is the international technological transfer scope and their measurements. The literature on the international technologies transfer is often unclear about its scopes, encompassing the everything from pure technology spillover to arm's length technological licensing. uh, Professor Arora advocates for a broader approach to understanding technologies. Strengthening IP protection in developing countries may have a different effects on the various type of technologies diffusion across from the broader. For example, the stronger IPR might increase private returns from technological licensing or for FDIs, but it could limit the technological spillovers. These diffusion channels have diverse welfare implication, making it essential to empirical study how IPR reforms after alter the technological diffusion through different channels. Now, next is technological transfer organization. Organization, including the academic and commercial institutions, plays a very crucial role in promoting the technological transfer by providing the funds, resources, and other support for the research and development. These offices help move the innovation from the lab to the market. One such a organization is WIPO, the WIPO Technologies and Innovation Support Centers, established in India in 2020. They support the entities and the academic institutions in the country. India also has several others technological transfer organization which facilitate the protection of the IPR assets. These include the technological transfer intellectual property services, innovation technological transfer offices, and platform for the regime IP management ecosystems. Then next is the how the what is the importance of IPR and technological transfer. So I will conclude with my 4 points. First is promoting innovation and investment. Second is facilitating the technological transfers. Third is economical growth and development. And fourth is the access to advanced technologies. Now I will discuss regarding the role of technological sharing and intellectual property right with poverty alleviation. Role of intellectual property rights and technological sharing in poverty alleviation has encourages the innovations and investment. First is IPR protection, provide a legal safeguard for the investors and creator, ensuring their benefit from their innovations. And second is incentive to research and development, encourages the investment in research and development, also leading to
Thank
the
you.
technological.
Thank you,
Sir.
Thank you so much. You are exhausted with your time. Okay, next
Sir?
present. I would like to go back once Dr. Mani called with Palak Garg. Did you join back?
Sir, actually, I text you on the chat. Please see it.
Your text it me in the chat. Have you requested for single presentation?
Yes, sir, she has gone
That
urgent.
cannot
So
be taken, you know. Okay, we will be going for the next presenter. Jatin, the Ms. Jatin, along with her presenters, the role of intellectual property rights, encouraging financial inclusions and economic empowerment for the poverty alleviation. Okay, we go for the next one. Raghav Sharma, IPR and poverty, bridging innovation and equity. Are you there? So we shall move for the Jyoti Manikshi.
Yes, I'm here, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Please.
Am I audible?
Yes. Proceed.
Yes, sir. So good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Yes, am I audible, sir? Hello?
Yes, yes. Please proceed.
Okay. Okay, sir. Fine. So my topic is basically
yes.
Like
Do you have any technical
sorry. Yeah, yes, sir. So harnessing intellectual property right for indigenous and agripreneur.
Would you like to share your screen, or would you like to? I think you should come on the camera if you don't have a presentation. If you don't have any paper, PowerPoint. Yes.
Yeah, sure, sir. Yes, harnessing intellectual property rights for indigenous and agripreneurial growth, a model for property elevation in Wayanad. So this is a topic that I chose, and I'm literally thankful for the team for choosing this topic and to address poverty through our research and all. So what Hashmi sir said and what Dr. Bhagan sir said is rightly correct. Poverty doesn't like limited to a particular thing or addressing the essentials only. It does more than that. That is literally correct. And my objectives of the study include like analyzing the role of IPR in indigenous and agripreneurial growth, and to identify various challenges in IPR adoption by a small-scale producer, particular to the Wayanad, and to explore case studies demonstrating the impact of IPR in poverty reduction or poverty alleviation, and also to recommend strategies for improving IPR awareness and accessibility. And what I basically found the research gap in this is like a very limited research on the impact of IPR in rural poverty alleviation in Wayanad has actually happened, and lack of awareness among local farmers and artisans about the IPR benefits and what all arising from these kind of IPR schemes and all, and challenges in registering and enforcing IPR protection for local domestic products. Another research gap, and insufficient policy framework like linking IPR with the economic growth or poverty reduction is another research gap that I just found. And how to resolve these research gap is another thing. Conducting various case studies on GI tagged products. GI tagged project, particularly I can mention like Jeeragashala rice, then Robusta coffee, and other handicraft products. Gandhagashala rice. These are the GI tagged particular products which I took as case studies, and there are various market impact. And another one is like to identify legal and financial barriers to IPR adoption, and to propose government policies and business strategies to improve IPR accessibility, and to suggest the sustainable agribusinesses model leveraging IPR. So the basic 4 case studies that I took is Wayanad GI tagged Robusta coffee, which increased market value post GI registration, and Nilambu Thek branding success led to premium pricing. Darjeeling tea, an example of global success through GI registration. Tribal handicrafts, which needs a better IPR protection to prevent like further exploitation and all. Examples regarding this are like farmers cooperatives which benefiting from GI registration, e-commerce platforms which promote IPR protected rural products, and other government initiatives supporting IPR registration for small and domestic producers. And these are the various case studies that I just focused on. And the main findings that I got from this particular research is like IPR protected products or GI tagged products can literally generate higher income for a small scale producer, and gradually which will helps us to reduce poverty. And awareness programs are literally needed to educate rural communities about IPR benefits. Digital marketplaces can enhance the reach of IPR tagged or GI tagged products. Legal support is also is very much crucial for small and marginalized farmers or marginalized section of the society to secure their rights. And on the basis of these findings, there are 4 recommendations from my side. Like government should literally simplify IPR registration process for rural entrepreneurs, and some sort of financial initiatives should be provided for small scale producers to register on this IP. And awareness campaigns or training sessions should be conducted for these local marginalized communities. And also digital and international marketing should be encouraged for GI tagged products to enhance the marketing. And these are the main recommendations from my side. And also on a conclusion note, or as a summary, I can say that IPA can play a crucial role in poverty alleviation or reduction by ensuring fair compensation for indigenous and agriprenarial innovations. However, awareness, accessibility, and proper policy implementation is literally essential for this. Strong government intervention, training programs, financial support can bridge the gap between IPR protection and economic environment, as the domestic or marginalized section is literally unknown about, not the awareness level is literally low. So more these kind of what you call awareness sessions or campaigns can be given to them. So Wayanad actually known for the rich biodiversity, tribal heritage, GI tagged products like Wayanad Robusta coffee, Malabar pepper has immense potential to leverage IPR for economic and empowerment, and particularly poverty reduction and alleviation. So my study explores how IPR can contribute to poverty alleviation in Wayanad by providing farmers or local agripreneurs or entrepreneurs with like better market opportunities, brand recognition, economic security. Likewise, it also examines the challenges in this IPR adoption and suggests various policy interventions to bridge these gaps. So, what I felt is there's a missing link between IPR and economic growth.
Goes wrong. Hello.